Welcome to Lesson 3 of Accounting Ethics. And here we have chapters or sections 7, 8, and 9 covered, all of it found on a single page, page 100. Reading backwards over the syllabus, it appears that we started on page 90 of the online text that we were supplied with in the syllabus. So working forward from page 90, we're now on page 100, and we will continue with the current assignment of reading that page. Our three topics for this lesson are key positions, first, second, jointly held investments, and third, cooperative arrangements with clients. It would be useful to look up the definitions of these online since the text does not furnish definitions of these three. However, the first two are fairly clear. Let's take a look at them. Lesson 7 on key positions identifies three possibilities. The first is that a covered member, or a member of the audit firm, namely, who is also a manager of the client entity. This is not allowable because it affects independence. The second possibility is a promoter or an underwriter or a voting trustee who's also a member of the audit committee. Again, disallowed. And the third potential threat is a trustee or any person in the client entity who is a member of the audit team. The wording here is quite difficult to understand, very, very frankly. So doing the best we can to interpret this. Part 2 of this section, section 7, on key positions, states that an immediate family member of one of the audit team who's employed in a key position, as explained above, impairs the independence of the audit, just as if the auditor herself were to be so employed. So it's not just the members of the audit team, but any member of the immediate family. Again, immediate family is open to interpretation. One would assume that it means marriage or direct child or descendant. I don't know if it extends to third level relationships or not, aunts, uncles, grandchildren. Just not clear, it's not spelled out here. Part 3 of this section, key positions, lists all of the conditions that make someone a holder of a key position. All of these amount to positions that control or influence the financial statements or substantial parts of those financial statements, or has any influence over these statements. That should be fairly obvious. Part 4 deals with honorary positions. These are considered not a threat, and the person is independent as long as the position is strictly honorary and the member does not vote or otherwise participate in active management. They simply hold an honorary position. An example might be honorary professor at a university that's being audited. If a member of the audit team is an honorary professor, you know what that's worth. It's worth a box of Cracker Jack, honestly. All right, honorary professors, they're titles of prestige. They don't confer any actual influence or power in most cases. If they were to do so, they would be then considered as positions, key positions that might exert undue influence and therefore pose a threat. Section 8 is quite brief, states simply that no member of the audit team can share an investment with a client of the attest firm or any of its managers. That is, it has to be a material part of the member's wealth. If you're Donald Trump and you have a $100 investment, that's not material. The section specifically mentions officers, directors, and stockholders. Collectively, these are called self-interest threats to independence. And finally, section 9 mentions cooperative arrangements with clients that could affect the independence of the audit team. They don't bother to spell these out. There is some Korean script there, and I'm not sure what that says, of course. If you have any insight on that, please let me know. I'd be curious. So we continue with lesson 3. Let me find it here with the discussion questions. And on those, we have considerable information online on the PCAOB and discuss its roles and authority. Remember to include in that the PCAOB is or was created under the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation, and it answers directly to the Securities and Exchange Commission, or it was founded by that body. They don't actually answer to anybody. They operate independently. In discussion question number 2, we don't have anything specific in our text on SEC rules, and that would be something you would have to look up on the internet. I do have a PowerPoint on this issue, and I will attempt to attach it to the lesson sometime during the day tomorrow so that you can check that PowerPoint. It's called Controlling or Internal Controls, and the SEC, PCAOB, and of course the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation is what it actually deals with. It's about 25 PowerPoint pages. Some of them are rather humorous. I put them in just because they made me smile. I hope they do the same for you. The actual discussion is fairly brief, and you're welcome to crib anything or quote anything from that you find useful for answer for discussion question 2. For discussion question 3, role of Government Accountability Office, I am completely unaware of anything in the stated textbook that covers that issue. If you find something, certainly indicate it to us. Otherwise, again, we go to the internet to look for sources on that. And discussion question 4, overarching independence principles, should be included somewhere in the textbook. I wasn't able to find or locate that page exactly, but the overarching principles should be readily available online as well. In preparing for the quiz, I have really no offerings at this point, but I will take the quiz and leave a couple notes in the announcements if I have a little time today. Keep up the good work. We're not going to be excessively strict on this course because the outline is so sketchy, and frankly the text is extremely hard to understand. Looking forward to completing the lesson and continuing on with lesson 4 next week. See y'all later. Bye-bye.